We are live at the Genzio Media House here at ETH Denver. It's day 2 of the main event, and I'm here with Paulie, the state manager of the state of Colorado for Long Drink. Tell us about Long Drink.
We are a sparkling refreshment soda with a real liquor kick. So we were made for the 1952 Helsinki Olympics out in Finland. So it has a bit of a history, 73 years in the making, and was essentially made as a summer beverage to have out there for the tourists that were visiting Finland.
Wow, so it was, who created it?
It was the government, actually. The government of Finland is who actually
What?
has the claim for creating our beverage. So it was right after the wars. Finland was one of the first countries to host all the countries back for the Olympics, and they essentially just needed a drink that people would please everyone pretty much. And so the government partnered up with another brewery, and they essentially went back and forth. One of the reasons that they didn't land on beer is just malt was too hard to get right after the wars. So they landed on long drink, essentially. So what a long drink is our blue one, which is the flagship, is a traditional citrus, which has grapefruit, juniper berries, and then a gin kick in there. And that's our secret ingredient, which differentiates us from the competition.
Absolutely. I mean, I was a bartender actually in a past life, and gin is probably my favorite spirit.
Yeah.
And I gotta agree with you.
Yeah,
The juniper really changes the game.
You can definitely do a lot with it. And a lot of the competition right now is doing vodka, tequila, some whiskey out there, but not a whole lot of gin. We do have some of the gin. We fall into the category of ready to drink or canned cocktail.
Absolutely.
There are some gin products out there, but they're just a very bitter gin taste, where ours just complements each other and just tastes amazing.
Absolutely. So I'm still kind of hung up on Finland having the claim to this.
Yeah.
Do they own it, or do they just say that they
did.
They take the rights?
They did. So that was actually interesting history.
What?
So the government held on to the recipe, and about every 10 years from 1952 up until 1995, they would change the brewery license so that everyone got a share to make their version of the long drink. So for 10 years at a time, there was a long drink brand in Finland, and it was like your Budweiser long drink was out for 10 years, then it was your Coors, then it was your, just kept on going.
So they would just interchange, and then they would switch with
breweries. And whoever got that, it was basically tied with the government, and whoever had the rights at that point was the only one that was allowed to make it in Finland.
Got it. It's not a brand. It's just
it's a name of a drink in a category. So kind of like we have here in the U.S. seltzer category that came out like 10 years ago with White Claw and all these.
Gotcha.
We have a long drink category.
Wow.
And so they made the drink. So it's different from a cider. It's different from a beer. It's a long drink essentially. And so that's why we had the government intervene with it. And the year 1995 is a notable one because we joined the European Union at that point. The European Union got whiff of what the government was doing and saying you can't keep the recipe to yourselves and just give it on from there. So European Union intervened, and when Finland joined the European Union, that became open market for everyone. So growing up, I was born in 1995, and I just remember in Finland there being a plethora of different long drink brands. It was because everyone finally got the license to go back at it. And so at that point, from 1995 up until now, it's been basically which brewery can show up the most and claim that long drink space.
Wow.
And there's been I mean, it's, again, 73-year-old product. So it's had a lot of history, and it's in the last 30 years that it's really had a lot of competition and brands that have pushed up. But surprisingly, none of them have. There's one or two that have come to the U.S., but haven't done that much compared to us. Category is long drink, and so that's where we come in. So there's all these Finnish brands that had existed in Finland for all these years. In about 2017, 2018, our founders, who are from Finland, 3 of them, they were out here in the U.S. and they noticed there was a huge market gap. We had a little bit of seltzers, we had a ton of beer. Craft beer was just booming everywhere. And they realized in the college scene, there wasn't a drink like long drink with that real distilled spirits. Seltzers are made with fermented sugar and malt liquor, which ultimately cause a bigger hangover and just bloatiness, where long drink is more straight to the point with the real liquor in there. So 2018, these guys came out. They were like any other Finn. They thought America starts in Manhattan. So out of Gatorade bottles, they were selling long drink to bars and restaurants
Oh my
and liquor
God.
stores in
What do you
Manhattan.
mean out of Gatorade bottles? What do they mean?
Like they had to bring the long drink because they made like in the early batches they were bringing it out from Finland still before we had the production in the U.S.
Right.
So they were bringing it from Finland with Gatorade bottles because they separated themselves from the Finnish companies. They started this company in the U.S. brand
Wow.
new, brand fresh, and that's why we were able to get the long drink name.
Wow. So I was gonna say, so nobody had kind of taken that patent, or not the patent, the trademark,
Exactly.
from
And so we can't trademark long drink because that's the category. Even
even in the U.S.
in the U.S., yeah,
Wow.
because in the U.S. the Trade Commission realized that's a category.
Interesting.
And so that's why we're called the Finnish long drink.
There we go.
And so that's why we've been able to really get that name out there. And I think long drink is a very sticky name for people to like
Yeah.
memorize, and it's helped us along. And that's what the ironic thing is. The English name came out first before the Finnish name came. So it was
Yeah.
in 1952 they needed a name. Essentially, they had the drink. They're like, what are we going to call it? They call it the long drink name comes from being mixed into a Tom Collins kind of long, tall glass, and out came the long drink. So 20 years later,
Yeah.
they came with the name Lonkero, which means tentacle also, which doesn't have any, I don't think it has any tentacle.
Okay.
I don't think it has any like correlation between the two, but essentially it took 20 years later. I think it was in a song or something weird, like it was just pop culture reference, and that's where the Finnish name then came. So when we're talking now finally in Finland about long drinks and stuff, we'll say Lonkero, but back in the day in the 52, it was just long drink that was there. So they made it very international right off the bat, but it didn't take the people as fast as they would have expected back then.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what a rich background and history, and it seems like the branding. Multiple people came in here. They saw they saw the branding, they saw the cans. They were definitely intrigued. Some recognized it, and it's giving off kind of like a premium slash
Popping,
if
vibrant.
vibrant, for sure summery. I'm getting the summer vibe. But I'm getting like a premium.
Yeah, and that's where we wanted to be categorized is being that our tagline actually used to be premium liquor kick.
Okay,
So
there we go.
that liquor kick in there is how we're differentiating ourselves. And once we're in the marketplace with like High Noon, Cutwater, all these guys,
Absolutely.
we're the ones making it with gin with an easy, like a different approach, and essentially a drink that we've caught by wind. So in the Nielsen data for the last 2 years, we've been number 4 and 5 for all of the U.S. in this canned cocktail RTD market.
There we go.
So gotten a lot of traction, and again, we're the only gin brand out there. There's always innovations that happen with the flavors. The other cool thing that I get to do with my job is in the on-premise in the restaurants and bars, we get to present long drink as a cocktail. So we have a lot of bars and restaurants around around Denver and in the state of Colorado that do mixed cocktails. So they'll do either the strong one or the traditional citrus blue and use that as a base, and then throw liquor on top of there and sell it as a long drink cocktail.
There we go. That's
so we've seen whiskey thrown in there where it turns it into a whiskey sourish.
Okay.
We've seen tequila, which turns it more towards the Paloma. But a lot of bars and restaurants love using it as a base on that. That's one of my favorite parts, is seeing when the bartenders' minds just start going with the cocktail ideas, because I'll just hand them the long drink and I'll be like, here, let me see what you can do, and they just go to work at it. So we are just about in every state in the U.S. There's a few little control states that we're not in, but otherwise we are mostly in the liquor stores and bars and restaurants all across the U.S. So depending on the state, obviously, long drink can be only sold in Colorado in liquor stores, not the grocery stores because of the liquor laws. But a lot of the states will have it in Target and all of your big liquor stores. So we actually signed on Miles Teller back in 2018 as an owner of the company. And so he's been a really, really good advocate of the brand out there just about everywhere. So for the past 3 Super Bowls, he's worn a long drink hat out there. So every time they're filming Taylor Swift, you see the long drink hat out there. And he's been on Jimmy Fallon and all those guys drinking long drinks with him on air. So he's done a lot of publicity for us.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then on top of that, we have Ricky Fowler, the golfer, and then Kygo, the DJ as well. So Ricky's helping us in that golf avenue where it fits in the golf course perfectly, just because you're out there in the hot, you want a refreshing citrus beverage, long drink, but you don't want to slow your game down with that bloatiness. So that's where long drink, again, with that real distilled spirits, just hits in the perfect spot.
Holly, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Brought to you by Hedera and Foresight Ventures.
Hey, what's up?
This is
But
Zach.
it's not something Gensio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a
How
hive.
many know we do not understand that we do not want?
Ladies and gentlemen,
We're back at the Gensio Media House.
Oswald, thanks so much for joining us today.